Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Prepare for battle, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, with me, Garrett Weinzierl, him, Kyle Fergusson, and our returning monthly guest host, Mr. Jeff Kanata. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here. How you doing?
Better because you're here, sir.
Aw, thank you. I'm glad you guys were sick last week, so I'm very glad to hear both of you doing better.
It would have been wonderful if you were here last week, so we could have leaned on you a little bit, And our third chair this week is actually healthy. Jeff Kanata, take it away, and then we'll just lay down, take a nap. It would have been lovely.
Well, I'm glad you're doing better this week.
Yeah, definitely getting a little better there. So, you haven't been on all month long. So we've had you on since 2.0 launch. But how has post Diva life been treating you, man?
Hero League has been a horrible catastrophe. But I'm on a pretty bad losing streak. But I don't want to talk about that. But I know I will talk about that if you want. But the good news is that a bunch of my Overwatch loving friends have been wanting to play to get their sweet rewards. So I have been playing a bunch of quick match and a bunch of unranked with them late at night, and it has been a blast. We've been playing 4- and 5-man teams and just having so much fun with those guys. A bunch of them are very, very new to the game, but like seeing it through their eyes and having good times. And we lose lots of games, because we're all trying to learn. But when we win, it's been so much fun. And we won a game the other night with 7% health on our core, and like everybody was cheering and having a great time. And I was just like, hopefully some of these guys stick around after the rewards are over. But it was awesome just getting them into the game and giving them a taste of the fun that I have. I'm
glad you brought that up. I've been seeing the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, Kyle, you and I, let's have a conversation about a friend that only you and I know and will be interesting only to you and I. Our good buddy Brian, who, if you listen to the outro music of this very podcast, he made that. But Kyle, he was your roommate, and I've known this kid since I was 3 years old, and he DJ'd my wedding. He was in Heroes the other day. I saw him in Heroes of the Storm. I got into a game of Heroes of the Storm with our buddy Brian and showed him the ropes in an AI game. By the way,
it's been busy. It's cool to log on still, 2.0, and it's been a bit. They keep redoing the rewards. They're getting people to come back week after week. We are in the top 10, certainly, of all stream games on Twitch now, and we seem to be staying there.
Which is badass. By the way, I'm terrible at coaching new people. You, sir, are an artist.
Yeah.
It's about compartmentalizing the information ultimately, and only really giving them the stuff they need to know then so they can have fun as fast as possible. Everything else kind of builds on those moments and the stuff that they learn in that 1v1 environment. Yeah.
Well, I've trained him in the ways of orb building his Li Ming instead of making things hard for himself. I told him if he ends up on a battleground with 2 big angel devil dudes, feel free to do a magic missiles build. But other than that, just keep orbing it up.
It's an easy plan.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Jeff, I'm also glad you're here today because I'd like to kick things off with some Heroes adjacent discussion because today was the Destiny 2 gameplay reveal, and we didn't think that this was going to be Blizzard related in any way, shape, or form, but it ended up being very much Blizzard related, and also
and then Mike Morhaime showed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like I was hanging out and watching Destiny, and then Mr. Morhaime entered the fray and continued
put chocolate in my peanut butter.
You did, and he continued to call everything BattleNet, which just warmed the deepest regions of my heart.
Yeah, do you think he hasn't gotten the memo on that, or?
I like to think that Mike Morhaime is just such an old school Blizzard fan that him working there is irrelevant. The fact that he's like the boss of everything is irrelevant. He's just a fan, and it's still just so ingrained in his system that it's called BattleNet that he can't stop himself from calling it that.
Right, it's on his notes and it's crossed out to be correct, and he looks up and then looks in the eyes of the person who corrected it, and they've got this hopeful look, and they're like, come on, you can say it. And he's like, no.
Well, I think it makes more sense to call it BattleNet now that it's not just Blizzard games.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. They just changed the name, and now they're adding Destiny to the Blizzard launcher. Why change the name? Now it's not.
It's so bizarre. It's not a Blizzard game in the now called Blizzard app. And you had a really awesome name for games. I mean, you had a cool Steam competitor name that you owned for a decade or more. What? Yeah, that's weird to me.
I don't get it. It is interesting timing. Now, at the end of the day, it's all semantics, right? Like, who really cares? The big thing is that we're going to have a non-Blizzard game in our launcher. It's going to be Destiny 2, and this sets quite the precedent.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think Blizzard is set with all of the features that have slowly made their way into the Blizzard app. I think they are really poised to give Steam a run for its money. Steam has obviously all the momentum and a huge established user base and all that stuff, but in-game chat, all of the great features that we know and love in the Blizzard app, I think are really polished by this point. And I think if they can court some other non-Activision Blizzard publishers to put their games there, I think it could really be a solid Steam competitor.
Strong words. I personally would just like a strong Steam competitor. Many have tried, none have come close, in my opinion.
But I mean, I think I would assume you guys agree with me that the Blizzard app is really robust. It works really well. I was playing some PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds this week just because I wanted to experience what that phenomenon is all about. And my friends and I, who decided to play it together, launched up the Blizzard app to do our in-game voice chat because we just like it the best. It's just the easiest one to use. So I think, more games using that stuff would be really cool.
The best part of it for me is watching the sort of Mad Money style World of Warcraft podcasters and community people talk about what's happening with gold in WoW right now, because it just suddenly shot up in value, because if it's in the Blizzard app, you can use your World of Warcraft gold to purchase the game.
Yeah, you can buy Destiny 2 with WoW gold. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Yeah, that was a fun little revelation today as well. There is a middleman. It's called. You gotta get your Blizzard bucks from your gold, but yeah, you can absolutely do that, which is just insane to me. I of course will probably just buy it with cash, but if I was still the college version of me that had no money but all the time in the world to play World of Warcraft, that's exactly how I would be buying Destiny 2. Yeah. So. I think that's really cool. If nothing else, I hope this means that we'll get Cade 6 in Heroes of the Storm at some point, because I want Nathan Fillion.
Do you think that's somebody was actually asking me if I thought that was a possibility, that could Heroes of the Storm include other Activision characters?
I would be really okay with that. Like, had you talked to me maybe 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago might have been like the cutoff of me being a hardcore Blizzard fanboy and like, no, everything else is crap. Blizzard all the way. But at this point, no, I would love to see that. Give me that. Give me Price from Call of Duty. I don't care. Like, I would be totally fine with Cade 6 hanging out. I would also like the idea of cross promotion both ways. Like, I'd love to see some Blizzard stuff show up in my Bungie title.
Oh, there you go. You get a Widowmaker gun in Destiny or something like that.
That sounds absolutely lovely. Or a Widowmaker helm, which there's helms in there that already kind of look like that. So
you get Jim Raynor's cigar.
That'd be Tychus's cigar.
Yeah,
Jim Raynor. It would be Jim Raynor's whiskey.
Yeah, there you go.
His glass of whiskey.
You click an option, and all shoulder pads are 5 times their normal size.
There you go.
There you go.
And you get blonde hair. You call yourself Kael'thas, and you accidentally think that you're a tank because of the size of your shoulder pads. But well, that's cool. That was probably the biggest surprise for me. And I'm interested to see what it means for the future of the Blizzard launcher, as I guess we're calling it now, which doesn't even make sense anymore. I'm anxious to see what that means for the future and what other games are going to pop up on there. So
it'll always be BattleNet in our hearts, like Mike Morheim.
And it's easy to get tribal about it and, say this is a clean environment. No, I like knowing that my friends are playing this small group of games. And yeah, sure, Destiny can come on over, but not those others. It's going to be an expansion period.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird.
Yep. I'll feel a little weird about Call of Duty. And I like Call of Duty, but it would feel weird to me. But I'll get over it when it probably...
I'll be shocked if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'll get over it when it inevitably happens. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get into this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Can Stitches play now? Point me to the stage.
So we got our patch this week, this past Tuesday, May 16th to be exact. And not a lot has changed from the PTR, but a few things have. Obviously, the big thing was D.Va is now live. But also the Alarak and Tyrande reworks, which kind of feel like new heroes to me, Tyrande especially, are also live. Yeah. So we have multiple new heroes, in my opinion, to contend with. Also, the number of battlegrounds in rotation have increased, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But I actually wanted to kick things off with, have either of you played the reworked Tyrande or Alarak on the live game? And I'm curious how they're feeling for you.
And I'm more curious to hear from Jeff, too, because I've talked over him, but I'm really curious to hear from you because the past couple weeks we've been broadcasting double support. Oh, my God, what do we do about this? Lily gets nerfed, Tyrande gets reworked. And I thought she would just plug and play into everything, and I'm not seeing her anywhere.
Yeah, no, I've played her a bunch, but just in my unranked games, just because she's my favorite hero and has been for a long time, bar none. Tyrande is my favorite hero to play in Heroes of the Storm. Haven't played her a lot in recent months because she hasn't really been sort of in the meta. And when you pick her in a lot of games, people just don't know what to do. It's like, do we need another support now? What's happening?
What is this?
Yeah. So with those pickup games that I was talking to you guys about with my Overwatch friends, I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to play a bunch of Tyrande, and it has been a blast. I mean, I love her. I think the skill floor got a lot higher. Like what am I trying to say? It's more difficult to play her now. I think she's become a true assassin with a little bit of heals on the side. And there are a few games where I was like top DPS for my team with her. I think it's a little crazy that they literally removed any kind of healing ult from her for your team. Like you can't heal your team now with a healing ult.
You can't even cloak them. Like Shadowstalk just straight up helps your team in no way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah. It's all personal help there. And that's a little bit, I think, dangerous, just because she kind of requires either a very highly skilled player or a second support. So yeah, in all the Hero League games I've played, I haven't seen any Tyrande at all. But I really like what they did with her. It's really fun, and seeing that cooldown just like shrink in a couple of hits is really exciting and neat. And when you get to those level 20 talents and you're throwing a Starfall down and everybody gets Hunter's Mark, I mean, that is so awesome. And all her new quests I enjoy the character a lot. I'm just not sure how she's going to fit into competitive play.
Certainly utility at this point. And to look at the statistics in Hero League, she is down almost 4%, down to 44% win rate, which makes her the second lowest support under Tassadar, How the Mighty Have Fallen. But she is utility and should be drafted as such. Where exactly you draft utility in a pre-order environment is really hard to tell.
I think I'm going to chalk this one up to she is so different now. I just don't think people, however seasoned they were with her, are probably picking her correctly or playing her correctly. I think that's why she might be down. I believe in this build of Tyrande quite a bit. I like it, and I think give us some time with her, figure out where she slots in, and I think she's going to be a force in the future.
Well, I was in a game with a guy, thankfully it was like a quick match game, but he pressed his R and thought he was shadow stalking the whole team and was like, what's going on? I mean, he was just not aware of the changes, right? And he was like, why didn't the whole team disappear? So I think, yeah, we are in an adjustment period. So, but it's a really interesting way to take that character, and I think it really plays much more into her fiction as this badass huntress that, you know, is there to deal damage and just kind of help people in a less obvious way.
It's important to note too, and I'm probably going to say this over a lot of today. Any hero that can do incremental damage, and any hero that is standing slightly off to the side does anything by themselves at all. In this case, Tyrande being kind of removed. You're not going to stand in the middle of your group. You won't be standing in the lane. You'll probably be thinking you're sneaky, slightly off to the side. And that's where Genji is destroying everybody right now. So Tyrande could very much just be suffering due to Genji hype.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm seeing, at least in my lower leagues, is a lot of Anubarak and a lot of just dive comps of just get to those stragglers and murder them with Genji and Anubarak. And KT is getting a lot more play now too. So it's really interesting to see how things have shifted.
I mean, I think we're all seeing Anubarak across everything. He's king of the hill right now. Across everything. But
he did go down a little bit because we are slowly moving out with the Lili nerf out of that double support meta, and even Tyrande not filling that role. As we move back onto auto attackers, maybe, but it's in a really weird place. Every time they add another high mobility hero, often it's our auto attackers that suffer the most outside of Vala, but Tychus, who also has a short range shift, has to be very close range now. Zul'jin, Raynor, these are guys that can't adjust their positioning. So Genji and now D.Va and all the other sort of movement creep we've talked about, they're just going to suffer. So we'll keep going spell damage, which makes Anubarak, regardless of the support situation, successful.
Yeah, it's interesting that they introduced these movement heroes at the same time they introduced a movement map. You know, because Hanamura really is all about getting around the map and being in a lot of different places at once and escorting your payloads and preventing other payloads. And it just feels like all these characters that can turtle up and camp and create, you know, problem areas are just completely irrelevant in that map.
Yeah, I'm still like holding out hope that at some point the whole like set up your shop along the enemy's path is someone will make that work, but it doesn't seem like it works right now. I can't take Gazlo, drop a bunch of turrets in the path of their payload and have it actually pan out.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, you guys please correct me if I'm saying something stupid, but I feel like for me, Hanamura has been very problematic because I think it behaves in such a different way than any of the other maps they've released so far. And I really believe at this point, getting a fort is way more important in Hanamura than it's ever been before. And I think it's so easy for teams to completely ignore lane pushing. I feel like characters like Sylvanas and Zagara that can just get you a fort can get you a win, because it feels like so much of Hanamura is like tit for tat. Okay, we delivered ours, they delivered theirs. We delivered ours, they delivered theirs. And the first team to get that boost to their delivery wins.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. You're just going to do the gentleman's trade as you turn in yours, they turn in theirs, and we try to maintain soak. The difference between the leagues really is how well your team maintains the soak and how or who on your team goes and walks the objective. In Silver, everyone will just kind of go do it, and it'll be messy and we'll miss lane soak. In Diamond and Master, it's the off tank, it's the off support, or someone who has some sort of advantage walking along with it. Those choices are being made, but you're absolutely right. Whoever gets the first fort creates the pressure, then they get stuck on defense. They're having to defend against you. You're a level up because you took that fort, and it snowballs into victory.
I kind of think, I mean, I didn't mean to launch into a discussion of Hanamura here, but I kind of think that the fact that a second payload will spawn for your team if you've prevented one from getting in breaks the map.
It is action-packed, right? And if there was, let's say, nightmare scenario, Probius, Gazlo, and then 2 solo laners, and some amazing healer in the background, and they just camped your one payload, you could never move it. Maybe that's what they're concerned about.
Yeah, maybe, but I kind of feel like if we're doing our job and stopping a payload and then another one just spawns, and now, I mean, you get the situation in some games where you get 3 or even 4 payloads on a map at one time, and it just becomes utter chaos, at least in my leagues.
Yeah.
No one has any idea what to do at that point.
Well, when that happens, I really like that personally because I think I like the whole idea of being pulled in multiple different directions at the same time and having to make a decision. A lot of times I think it can be, well, let's go defend against theirs that's closest to the turn-in, but that's not always the right decision.
Right.
Well, and we're seeing Azmodan's win rate just be ridiculous, and he's become one of the most contested heroes for Hanamura. And we figured it out. It's that the general continues the lane presence. If he leaves, he's decent at taking merc camps, but you can also guarantee that your high-value, long cooldown orb is going to fly across the map and hit guys, because you look at the payload, it says there are 3 people in just this area, and you go, oh, excellent. Rain some demons on the fort and get your team an advantage.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, have you played Alarak at all on the live game?
Oh, yes. I've been having a great time. I feel like I got to play him during Training Wheels time, and now the gloves are off. He is way more busy, really focused on those lightning hits in the middle, and I'm having a delight. In fact, this past week, oh, man, I got to enjoy some games with some A-movers. By the way, everyone should join the A-move chat. You guys are awesome. It has been such a delight in this chaotic time of new players and changing meta to get together with 4 random people in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, and have a very structured, well-informed team. I know we taught these guys together, but I got to flatter everybody who is in that chat because you guys are awesome, and I've had such fantastic wins this week. I went into an unranked draft with some of these guys, and on last pick, I'll say I'll fill. I banned Kael'thas at Spider Queen, and they end up going triple melee. One of them's an Uther, but it's D.Va double tank. And we're going, oh, man, what'd we do? We got rid of the Kael'thas. Hold up. Alarak's the new melee Kael'thas. I'm going to say that right now. He is incredible at Clog. Your level 1 extend lightning. Sure, it gives 20% range if you hit 5 heroes. Yes, it gives a 40% slow if you hit 15 heroes in that middle area. But if you hit all 3 heroes with a single cast of lightning, you get all the other rewards and 10% sadism, 10% ability. So I walk into that opening lane with 4 melee, hit the back guy, quest done instantly. Didn't have to stack 15, didn't have to do a thing.
That's disgusting.
Then Chaos Reigns comes up, level 4. Sure, you get 60 damage if you hit 15 heroes. Sure, you get 60 damage if you hit 2 heroes. If you hit 3 heroes in 1 Discord Strike, you get all of those and another 60, so 180 damage bonus the second I hit level 4.
Dirty.
We crushed. It was incredible. I had a great time. And it's interesting. His win rate is down right now, down by 0.5. So we can assume that the good players are playing and people are Alarak curious. When you really think about his kit, though, telekinesis compared to something like Kerrigan, it is omnidirectional. You can choose whichever way. You know, Kerrigan only gets to pull things forward. I can push you away. I can push you sideways. So he's such a dynamic character. I love him, but I am going to wait for those Kael'thas kind of scenarios and wait for the Clog on the enemy side, or at least a double front line of characters I would like to silence, like a Sonya or a Tyrael.
I'm glad to hear it's working out for you, and also that you're a terrible person, apparently, when it comes to playing as
I feel a
Alarak.
little guilty, but I had a great time.
Well, if anyone out there is listening and doesn't know about the A-Move chat, you can join the chat room in-game in Heroes of the Storm. So if you're chilling in the lobby, type /join, hit your spacebar, and then AMOVETV, A-Move TV, /join, A-Move TV. And that is the chat room. It is not /A-Move. Apparently 5 people were hanging out in that yesterday. But, yeah, go and join and make some friends. Now, D.Va also released, now that we've talked about the 2 reworked heroes that I've got to say I was a little more excited about than D.Va, even though I'm enjoying D.Va quite a bit. But she also released. She started off at a very high win rate on Hot's Logs, has leveled out more or less, is now floating around basically the 50% mark.
But was at 65% that opening night.
Yeah, I mean, she's, man, the Overwatch heroes. She's just the Lucio of warriors right now. She's obnoxious.
Yeah, hard to kill.
Yeah. But
Properly, right? There is a lot of possible errors to make in this game right now into protection or into D.Va. I'm seeing tons of people pour damage on top of Varian. I'm seeing lots of people kill their allies with Genji while he's got the Fleck going. And tons of people just seeing that low health D.Va robot and going, let's get it. And then she gets away. The bomb goes off. There's a D.Va right behind it. It's an excellent way to waste all your DPS.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Kyle, what's happening with nukes and defense matrix?
Yeah, Alex wrote into us and told us an interesting interaction he had. He was able to negate the damage of some of the nuke, making sure that he had defense matrix channeled on top of a hero when the nuke landed, just like we talked about last week, that pyroblast flying through the air, not the cast time, but the actual connect time. Defense matrix, the Kael'thas, you'll reduce that damage by 70%. So nukes apparently count as heroic abilities, which means he got rid of a ton of damage for his team, which is bizarre because it's percent-based. So I wasn't expecting this to be an interaction.
That's insane. And defense matrix, without talenting into it, lasts for 3 seconds. That's a large window to make this work.
Yeah, you get a decent amount of time to line that up. It also isn't canceled by pushes because you're mobile during it unless you take a talent. So people are finding some really cool ways, and we talked about Battlefield of Eternity last week, to make use of D.Va, and I think she'll continue to go up. Bunny hop is so frustrating, but still that big shot is a great way to get back in your robot, and lots of people like yourself, Garrett, have said, I'm more of a pilot main D.Va.
I love playing pilot D.Va, especially if you are on Battlefield of Eternity. There is really no reason to be in your mech unless you are the only freaking warrior on that team. But I've been quick matching D.Va like crazy this week and have played a lot of Battlefield of Eternity because it is back in the rotation. I'm very happy about that. Love that Battleground. And, dude, I can't tell you how many times I just told my team, like, the other 4 of you, just go defend. Just defend ours. I got this. And everyone's like, all right, we'll see what you're made of, D.Va. And it worked. It worked every time. I alone took out the Immortal. It was fine. The other team barely put a dent in ours because 4 people were defending it. It was gross.
Oh, man, that sounds a little backwards, but you're right. Because of her wind-up time and her huge DPS, once she locks on an immobile target like the Immortal, it's great. If you are planning to stutter step with Pilot D.Va, don't.
Yeah, still move out of the stuns when you're fighting the Immortal, but
sure. Yes.
Don't. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a bit of a ramp up in her attack speed. But overall, I'm really happy with her. She's annoying. This is the first time in my life where, well, actually no, because I am annoyed with 2 heroes I really like to play right now. D.Va is one of them. The other is Varian. Like, I'm so sick of seeing Varian, but I like playing Varian, and this isn't typically a feeling I experience all that often because I, like Kyle, am a shameless heroes hipster and refuse to usually play what's popular.
Yeah, I fall into that trap too. That's why I haven't played much of D.Va. I'm like, I'll grab her when she's cheaper. Or maybe she'll be in a loot box. Who knows?
Very good point. It could happen. That's not a thing that you used to be able to sit and wait for.
Yeah.
But whatever the case. Yeah. Hey, Kyle. Dahaka got some changes.
He did.
This was a surprise.
Yeah. Well, we saw these coming, but they did some interesting things with Dahaka. They made Dark Swarm baseline do more damage to everything. So you now do universal damage to all things and not bonus damage to heroes. You don't need to take Primal Aggression at level 1. It's not even available anymore. This seems like a buff. In fact, everything they did to him is a pretty cool looking buff, even giving him an auto attack build, which I'm a big fan of auto attacks. They're free. They didn't cost any mana. So it's a great way to get damage and increase your damage DPS. He is down. He is the lowest warrior except Muradin at 44% this week. And we just had a lot of our 3-lane maps rotated back in or added to on top of our previous map rotation, going from 6 maps to 9. Unexpected.
Yeah, that's I didn't see that coming at all. I mean, you and I played a game with Dahaka just before the show. It did not go that well.
It didn't go well because I wasn't able to Dark Swarm when I wanted to, because Genji can use my area effect that does consistent damage constantly to power up his deflect, stand by the person he wants to kill, and kill them. I, in fact, picked Tychus this week, and I lost that game too because of Genji. Anyone who attacks too fast, Li Ming's with Disintegrates, are countered heavily by that guy.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. You seen any Dahaka play, Jeff, in your leagues?
Not too much. No, he's fallen off big time. He was big before the little nerf that he got recently, but I don't see him anymore. I don't see Zarya anymore. Everybody's playing Anubarak, Artanis, Sonya, Diablo. Those are the tanks that I see a lot.
Okay, so nothing as far as hero picks. Nothing really different between leagues. It sounds like they're also just going for the popular
Right.
picks.
We also are very much undervaluing the guy who goes off by himself and does something up there, gets us XP, and then rejoins. It really is a team fight meta at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That game we lost earlier with the Hawkeye, someone on the team is like at the end, like, "Oh, you're a bunch of idiots. We should have just grouped." And I'm just like, I hate that this person is right.
It's true though.
I hate that. Like, why try? Why strategize? Try and get tricky. Right now, it's kind of just ball up and play better than the other ball.
I don't know. I've been having the opposite feeling, and again, I could be wrong, but I've never been a guy who enjoys playing specialists. The reason I love this game is team fighting, is doing something cool to save my teammate, is being a part of that group dynamic and interacting in that way. And I don't want to be the person that's off on my own doing the thing and pushing the fort while everybody else is doing a thing. But this week, as I've been losing game after game with teams that can't seem to coordinate, I've started to say to myself, maybe I need to just really hunker down and learn Sylvanas really well and just get XP for my team, push forts, and figure out ways that I can actually carry the team through that method. It's just not how I've enjoyed playing the game before, but I feel like, at least in my leagues, that would be so much more powerful than being a solid tank or trying to even, be great DPS numbers. I think that might actually have more impact on a game-to-game basis.
I think anything that makes you a solid soaker to the point where the toolkit is just better suited to soak will probably, I think, carry you ahead, because you'll just be able to give your team XP, give your team a talent level lead. Also, I will say, if you're considering Sylvanas and Sylvanas is actually making it through your drafts, freaking take her, because you'll be able to do that. And if that doesn't work out, her DPS is still good.
Yeah.
And she's telegraphed, something we talked about a lot here, but visually you can tell your team to make an invade by turning off a building. You are going to get them to actually, maybe possibly, get up on that fort and take it during the time that all the enemies are dead. So not only are you providing really solid team fight on Sylvanas, because she does such great single target damage once you've gotten close enough to lock on exactly the withering fire you want. You've got the silencing arrow, which is fantastic against that double support, and the telegraph. I've been a big fan of Sylvanas right now, though my allies have not been this week, which has been really strange.
Please
People
share.
have been trying to talk you out of it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Tomb of the Spider Queen comes up, and I grab Sylvanas first pick, and just everybody in my chat goes, "No, you ruined it." And my mind was blown. So maybe there's some sort of wave that permeated through the esports scene. Perhaps we ended up winning that game rather handily. I was really proud of my performance as well. I'm not sure.
I feel like if you look at the map rotation right now, Tomb of the Spider Queen, Haunted Mines, Infernal Shrines, Hanamura, and Braxis are all great Sylvanas maps.
Yeah.
Where she can really turn the tide in any of those maps. And so the odds are, that's why I'm like, well, maybe I should just bite the bullet and really just hunker down and learn her. Because at this point, like, being an awesome, I feel like being a great tank, being a great healer, bringing a great DPS on my team has not been working this last week. So I'm very frustrated.
I would go for it. Absolutely go for it. I mean, we're bouncing all around our bullet list on the side here. But I mean, Dyrus came out and did an AMA on the Heroes subreddit this week and talked all about his thoughts on Heroes of the Storm. And one of the big things he mentioned was just soak. And again, like we had Dunk on 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the basics about teaching someone new how to play this game. And he talks so much about the importance of soaking, and it's a relationship to hitting your timings. And in this case, you're getting your talents at a certain point in the game. So I think you're onto something, Jeff. I would pursue that. And again, especially if you are lucky enough to be in a place where she makes it through the meta, take the Sylvanas, please. And then brag to me. I'll be angry. It'll be wonderful.
Well, I'll report next time I'm on how my progress has gone.
Yeah, I miss playing Sylvanas, but I can't. She's banned every damn game I play. So, anyways, let's talk about the Battleground rotation, shall we? So the Battlegrounds that were added, we had Battlefield of Eternity, we already mentioned, Warhead Junction, Haunted Mines, and Tomb of the Spider Queen. Those have been added into the rotation. Cursed Hollow, Sky Temple, Braxis, Hanamura, and Infernal Shrines are all staying. So the only thing that was removed was Towers of Doom. So our overall number has jumped dramatically of Battlegrounds that are in the rotation. But luckily, the Garden is not back.
We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Although I think Towers of Doom is my highest win rate map, so that being gone is making me sad. But I mean, I think I really enjoy this grouping. Although I still am not in love with Haunted Mines even after the rework, but I think this is a pretty solid grouping of maps.
I think Haunted Mines can just by design be very frustrating because it is a 2-lane map, which means you immediately remove that chance for someone to go off and do something cute, get a siege camp onto a building, get some bonus soak on while the objective's going on. Haunted Mines should have that capability because of the basement, but really what happens is you go down there 2 levels and you're just in the dark and you're going to get ganked.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I really believe that controlling the camps on Haunted Mines is super important, but it's difficult to convince your team of that.
Yes, yeah, they do want you down there, and we should treat it just like we treat Infernal Shrines with Sylvanas, where you show up, you participate, and then the second you've given your team that 5v4, then you go back upstairs. So I've seen Sonya's, Murky's, all sorts of characters just stay up top. Just popping down for a hot second and throwing something into the mix is always worth it.
Yeah, the only person I'd like getting cute in the mines with, which sounds dirty, is Zeratul. But even then...
But he's already cute from the get-go.
Well, even then, there's so many players I could be murdering instead of getting skulls. So it also feels like I'm kind of wasting my hero's potential by going down there and grabbing skulls. But... such is life, I guess. Yeah, I got spoiled, man. This feels like a lot of Battlegrounds to keep my head wrapped around. I was really spoiled by the 6 Battleground rotation we had going on there.
Were you happy, though?
I was happy with the number. I feel like maybe upping the full number by 2 or 3 would have been cool. Adding 4... Well, I guess they technically added 3, right? Because they got rid of Towers of Doom. I don't know, just something about it just feels a little much. A little much.
That's interesting. And that's very opposed to what the majority of, I don't know if you want to call the Reddit the hardcore audience, but what a lot of people have been saying is they just want all maps all the time. This is what this game is about. How dare you restrict it, particularly in quick match.
Well, man, I really disagree with that, especially at a time where there is a large influx of new players. I think it's difficult. It's a better learning tool. I want these new players to stay and learn. And I think if someone came into this game today and every Battleground that currently exists is in the rotation, that it's going to be quite the insurmountable mountain to climb. That's one of the things I like so much about Heroes is I think it is relatively easy to teach to someone because the intricacies of things like the store and laning from other MOBAs, it just does not exist. But the scale can be tipped, I think, in Heroes' detriment in terms of how hard it is to kind of teach someone by the amount of Battlegrounds.
Yeah, that's for sure. I have a hard time putting myself back in that headspace of not knowing all the battlegrounds. So for me, I like the variety. I don't like getting the same battleground 3 times in a row or whatever. But again, I see where you're coming from, and I think new players probably could be overwhelmed by the variety of different kinds of things you need to keep in your head. But from my little selfishness, I like a larger pool.
I can get behind that as well, and obviously I think it's personal. I don't think there's a correct. I don't think there's a correct opinion or a correct answer here. I feel completely like the opposite about Hearthstone. I don't give a crap about new players, if I'm being honest, and I get so annoyed that that's the argument constantly thrown up by Reddit about like stuff being added on. But I think at the end of the day, Heroes is a social game because I can play with my friends. Hearthstone, I can't. The only thing I could do is beat my friend into a pulp in Hearthstone. Heroes is a social game, and I would like more of my friends to enjoy the experience.
Yeah,
but,
I see that.
Yeah.
Well, these new maps do have sort of a pattern to them that we can identify and maybe make some moves in your roster at home to win it out during these next couple of weeks. It looks like we might be doing 3 map rotations per season, so about 1 every 3 weeks or so. For good or bad, this is the way it's going to be. So let's dive in. There are now 5 3-lane maps, 4 2-lane maps. 5 of these maps, both in the 3-lane and the 2-lane variety, are summon objectives. You've got a Zerg Wave, you got an Immortal, you got a Haunted Mines Golem, you got a Punisher, anything along these lines. If you can turn off buildings, if you can restrict that siege. So Arthas' Syndragosa, the Sylvanas we discussed, very powerful right now. 4 of these are bribe maps, very powerful bribe maps. So might be a little bit into the Nova, Brightwing, Lost Vikings, Falstad kind of camp, if you're looking to add something like that to your roster. But the interesting part is the heroes who actually climbed this past week. Medivh shot up 8%, now at 45. So he's not certainly prepared and ready to go. But very interesting. I wonder if it's due to Skara, of course, playing a lot of Medivh during his diamond climb.
Skara is good for 8% on slogs. I love that.
It might be, right?
With that hero, it could be because so few people play him.
It could just be him having at it. Ragnaros went up to 55% this week for that exact same reason. Not so much the push power like Sylvanas and Lich King, but the defensive power of your Molten Core, and the pick rate of the Lava Wave shot up a lot when we went into this new map rotation. Gazlo, Murky, Kharazim are all back in force. And of course, Vala Malfurion went up, but they never really go anywhere. You knock someone else down in that range, this case, Lucio's nerfs from 2 weeks ago, Malfurion took his place.
Yeah, I've been seeing a ton more Kharazim, that's for sure. Very, very popular all of a sudden. Rag is kind of getting through drafts now because people are banning out Genji and D.Va, and so the new hotness. And so I see a lot more Rag also. But it's interesting to see Gazlo and Murky on that list. I haven't really seen much of them.
And a lot of that is due to the re-inclusion of more 3-lane maps. Gazlo, Murky don't really have advantages on Hanamura because their pufferfish is stable. The turret set up and leave in one area, so that payload usually pushes outside. Plus, most people are running a bit of poke. I see a lot of Li Ming on Hanamura, so setting up in advance just means you'll get destroyed.
Yeah.
The big losers of this patch seem to be everybody that was countered by Genji. Zul'jin increasing his attack speed, having a small window of time to kill everybody. He deflects, you die, Genji lives. Dahaka, we talked about earlier. Probius down quite a bit, still 52%. But Lili, Lucio, Zarya, Tyrande, and eventually Valera is now down to 43% win rate after her recent nerfs. Again, if you were a stealthy, you often try to go off in an odd angle and get away. Genji's got you covered. He's going to come kill you. If you are on an off lane, if you're kind of fighting from the side like Kael'thas would, or Tyrande, you're going to die to Genji.
I would like you to just give a little like wink and a nod more respect to Defense Matrix for Zul'jin having a tough time, because Defense Matrixing a Zul'jin who's going ham while Taz Dingo is up is the meanest thing you can do to another player in this game.
It's true. You do get stacks still on your level 1 quest, so at least that's going at the same time.
Yeah, you get
but
stacks,
if
but
Lucio falls,
you die and you don't kill anyone.
yeah, if Lucio falls down to any immobile hero out there like Zul'jin, who really needs that movement speed, is going to suffer.
Yeah. Also, I'm curious, how do you feel overall about Genji, Kyle? I'm personally glad and excited to see that he has kind of found his place, but do you think he's too oppressive to our, what would you want to call them? I don't know,
I'd say
your solo
hero
heroes?
pool. I'd say he's oppressive to the hero pool at the moment, and I know I'm coming from Dota. I have experienced a lot of different abilities, some of which when you move, I just want movement abilities. I want things that punish movement based on distance. Can you imagine? Let's say you took 5 damage per step you took, and Genji dives like that. He's dead. And there are abilities like that in Dota. There are punishing spells like every time you move, you take a step, you lose mana. And if you go to 0 mana, you become stunned. Anything like this would get rid of very quickly or have a counter draft capability to the hyper mobile meta, or not really a meta, I guess. I'm kind of throwing that word for free. The movement creep that we've seen in these new heroes. And that's kind of odd to say because we still got Vala from the base version of the game when it came out, who is extremely mobile. Everyone goes, most people anyway, go the level 1 talent where you get mana back, completely forgetting that that also gives you that max 20% bonus speed. That is oppressive stuff.
I'd love to see that kind of a hero join the game. That's you put some sort of debuff on a hero, and however far they move, they're taking damage or losing mana. I think that would be a pretty cool way to spin the game at this point.
It'll just be the punch that makes your heart explode from Kill Bill when you take too many steps. They just add the bride to Heroes of the Storm.
There you
is
go.
what I'm hearing.
Exactly, and it led to lots of interesting situations where if you were that Vala and you knew that vaulting would do half your health and damage, a little extreme there perhaps, but you would make the choice then to stand still. You were rewarded for your exchange of information. I think we're seeing the opposite of that with the protected status of Deflect and Varian. It's just over punishing, and you're not giving that to the other player, you're putting it on yourself, which makes it easier to do. Genji controls when he deflects.
Right.
By the way,
Yeah.
Scuds McKenzie in the chat room said to add Flame Wreath to the game, and
There we go.
You're my favorite person now because you just brought up a boss mechanic from Karazhan.
That'd be great. I mean, granted, I don't want just more humans at the moment. Let's get some more monsters filled out here. But and plus, he would just kind of be a wizard, right? It was just that guy in the library.
Just that guy, Shade of Iran. It's the ghost of Medivh's father. Come on, Kyle, get with it.
Oh. I didn't know that was his dad.
I didn't either. Some deep lore.
Yeah.
Kudos, Garrett.
Oh, come on. If there was a safe place to be a total geek about Blizzard lore, I would assume this show would be one of them.
Absolutely.
I'm legitimately giving you a high five.
I'm impressed. I was just excited that there was that ghost dragon downstairs in the observatory.
Fair enough. And I'd be cool with that. Do you think it'd be interesting to put an ability like that into a talent and not necessarily build a hero around something like that? Like give Valera like a poison talent that does what you're describing, Kyle?
Yeah. Now we're talking about it's a negative way to say it, but we can't get people to pay attention to base abilities. Getting them to pay attention to certain talent picks that are destructive may not be the way to go about it. Basically, right now, you shouldn't be attacking anybody while they're in protected status. Varian's decreasing his cooldown often. Genji's doing damage back to you. And in the late game, Medivh's going to get a heal out of it. So maybe the through line is even enough that once we broadcast that information, things will improve.
Well, I don't know, man. It's a tricky thing, and it's a deeper layer of information that most of the player base has a hard time getting because a lot of people aren't noticing that the other player that they're attacking did that. I mean, people have a hard enough time running away from Butcher's brand, right? Or not spreading Living Bomb. All of a sudden, Living Bomb is a problem again because all these new players haven't really experienced it. It's a tough thing, and I like the idea that you're saying of it being the onus on the caster onus on you rather than your opponent.
Yeah, the receiver.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's a good way to think of it. Well, anyways, we should probably move along. There's still some stuff in this patch I wanted to get to. We got some fun stuff added as a result of this patch. We have 2 new announcers. Diva and Genji have been added. I really want the Diva one. Like, really bad guys. And obviously, banners and emojis for Diva were added. I didn't even think about this. What an extra load of work for Team 1 anytime a new hero gets made. Well, we have to make like 50 emojis now for this hero.
Yeah, they said that they weren't going to do an announcer for every hero, but so far they're certainly barking up that tree. We still don't have like Zool banners, but I'm sitting on 43 chests right now. I'm just waiting for the next big update.
Damn.
Dude, 43 chests?
Yeah.
You have remarkable self-control.
Thank you. Well, I'm sitting on a lot of shards. I've got 2,600 right now, so I own everything I basically want. Most of my shards have gone to equipping the right banners, actually, for each hero.
I love the delayed gratification is impressive. Me, I get a loot chest. I'm opening it immediately and re-rolling the crap out of it.
Jeff, did you watch Kyle's chest opening? Because he got basically everything you'd ever want. So is that lucky guy that everybody hates? He also opened up a ton. You've got a lot of chests.
Yes.
Your hero level, but, your account level is very high.
It's not as high as some I've seen this week. Now that we have the full player level displayed in the portraits, I have seen some massive players. I can't even imagine. I love this game. I play it every day. You have to be doing something crazy to get those thousands.
I'm so happy to see the full player level displayed. That it baffles me how they ever thought this weird abbreviated color coded thing was a good idea, but I'm glad that they quickly recognized that it's just easier to put the whole number there.
Yep, absolutely. Also, finally, the rejoin feature was tinkered, was improved. And Kyle, you actually got to experience it today because you were playing on your old computer, which apparently still has a bug where when you go in or out of the mines, it hard crashes your computer.
Yes, if someone casts a heroic inside the mines, I get completely crashed out of the Blizzard client on that particular build that now lives in the living room. I have
so
no
if you're
idea
playing against Kyle, you just got a cheat code.
Know that I will be the Sonya that stays up top the entire game. For some reason, I just don't go in the mines.
Unless he's streaming, where he will be on the more new computer where that doesn't happen.
Yes, the correct computer.
Yes, exactly.
But I did get to enjoy the Free Connect feature. It does acknowledge who your hero was now. It gives you an actual bar that fills, and the bar doesn't reverse itself. It doesn't feel like it's going any faster, so maybe not improved. But no longer will you have to sit there through the 10 seconds that becomes 16 seconds, that becomes 8 seconds. Oh, 4? Wait. Oh, no, 15. As it tries to catch up to itself. The bar just fills, and when it reaches full, you're back in the game. I was very pleased with that. You can still hear everything, though, which is just all the pings, your character going boo as they get low health, and then the eventual break as they die.
The worst. It's the worst. You're like, come on, AI me, you can... Oh, you're dead.
You can do it. The builds have gotten pretty okay, though, actually. If you have at least picked 2 of your talents, it kind of knows the avenue you're going, at least picks the same pictures.
That's good.
It picks the same pictures. I hope that is how they coded it. It's just like, if you're playing Uther, pick the book talents. If they took the other book talents. Like, that's funny.
Can I bring up another change that I'm a little bummed about?
No, you're not allowed to.
Okay, well then I'll stay quiet.
For the love of God, tell me.
The fact that you can no longer check out someone's match history or roster or anything inside the draft screen.
Yeah, that's a fancy one, and I like it as well.
Oh, I'm bummed up by it. I really enjoyed being able to sort of get the lowdown on my teammates and. I mean, I just liked having that information and being able to kind of make recommendations of what to play and what not to play and look at. I mean, I guess that information is used to troll and to be mean to people, but it bums me out. Or honestly, most of the time what I use it for is I think I recognize that guy's name. Did I play a game with him like 2 games ago? And then I'll go and look in his match history and go, oh yeah, that's the guy who played Li Ming 2 games ago with me. So
that's fair. And that information is more valuable to you and Silver than in Diamond, where the meta is constantly shifting, I don't really want people to go to my screen and see, oh, this guy's a Diablo Azmodan Tychus main. What? What's he doing on Sylvanas?
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked it as well. I liked it just so not to bully someone out of a pick, but to know how much to trust someone as I go into the game. If they're on a hero that requires teamwork, that's what I liked it for.
Speaking of which, have you guys seen a single master emote yet? Like, I don't think I've even seen people use them at all.
I haven't seen a taunt yet.
Yeah.
Period.
That needs to change. They need to figure out some way to display your mastery thing in some more interesting, useful, usable way.
I miss master skins. I miss the meaning behind them, and I think that mastery taunts are lame.
Yeah.
Not my jam. Not my jam at all. But
agreed.
It's also a minor
Word
thing
is that they're
going to
be tying them to the Hearthstone.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
So you'll get a master above your head, or I've also heard, and this is not official at all, that it'll be tied to your Hearthstone when you B-step enough times, you will then get your mastery sort of folding out over your head like it does.
So they want to encourage B-stepping?
They can't stop it, and their current taunt system didn't limit it. Another problem, of course, that the pros had with taunting is that each character's taunt is based on the length of time it takes to do the animation. So if Dahaka, runs around like a puppy, that takes 3 seconds. Whereas Li Ming just doing a short little taunt and my magic increases takes half a second.
Oh, so it's not consistent between all heroes.
Right.
It's minor. It's really minor, but there's something I miss quite a bit about how master skins were previously perceived. So
agreed.
I don't want to look cool when I'm retreating. And if I do, I'll play D.Va because in her pilot form, she has the best damn Hearthstone animation in the game. She eats Doritos and drinks Mountain Dew while playing video games.
And plays Brood War.
It was Brood War when she's playing? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, if you zoom in, there on the screen, she's got the Brood War.
All right, I take issue with that because who in God's name would play Brood War with buttons and analog sticks?
on a mobile gaming? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
that's how good she is, man.
Oh, all right. Okay. I like where you took it, Jeff. I like where you took that. That she's such a prodigy that she can excel at Brood War. Even
she plays it with a Guitar Hero controller.
All I can think of now is the Guitar Hero episode of South Park and things that aren't good to say in public. Dyrus did a Heroes AMA on the Heroes subreddit this week. And if you haven't read through it, you can go check out the AMA in full. But there were some takeaways we wanted to highlight here. And gentlemen, feel free to stop me at any point during this rundown if one of these things you have a comment about. But he had some interesting stuff in here that I think is good, especially if you're new and new to the game and learning. To team fights, he said that he thinks that people in Heroes team fight better than people in League, and talked about his exhaustion with losing games in League because of an inability to group or getting staggered too often.
That's cool. I like that he actually came away with some respect for the HOTS community and the game itself, too. I think that's a really positive, awesome thing to hear.
Yeah, they all did to some extent, but Dyrus here almost seemed a little melancholy about leaving, which, he's got to go make money on the big streaming numbers, so he's back to League, but he did enjoy his time here a lot.
Which I think is really sweet. He also he talked about ways to kind of carry yourself up because you can't necessarily carry because of the nature of the game, but he did say that he thinks you can carry in bad comps up to platinum just by soaking properly, and also how important it is to fight at talent power spikes. And like that right there, I could go to our buddy Brian and be like, Brian, soak, fight at talent spikes. There's two really simple ideas I would like to implant in your brain.
How do you convince your team to do that, though? That's my question. That's the hardest thing for me is, I mean, I could soak till I blue in the face, but and I try to, but man, it's difficult one man in a fivesome.
It's made more difficult by the way the XP works. It is actually a lot longer to get from 9 to 10 than it is to get from 10 to 11. So when you have a 10 advantage, it holds on for quite some time. A lot of people who are soak-minded will end up, maybe they're level 11. They just want a team fight. The enemy team is 8. They are invincible. They have heroics that the enemy team doesn't, and they go back to soaking because they want an even bigger victory, and they want all the merc camps and pushing. And those merc camps aren't permanent. That isn't permanent damage that you're doing to the enemy team. Taking a keep, that's victory. That gives you that 70 to 90% chance to win when we look at the statistics. So turning that off and realizing that you have to get permanent damage in during those 3-level leads is difficult.
That's a really interesting point to make. So, because I think I make that mistake a lot too, let's grab a camp while we can. Instead of that, it's while they have a man down, let's take a keep, and we don't need the mercs to take the keep.
Right. Exactly. And
no, and
even more powerful if you're sitting on those characters that have some sort of ability that turns off the buildings, like Arthas, like Sylvanas, or just some sort of, hey, I'm invincible during this. Whether you're a Nubrak and you go in and start letting you loose your Locust, if you're Lily and you use your cups, often everyone will be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's go.
Yeah, it's that telegraph that you always talk about, Kyle. That's very important. And yeah, that in particular, not getting value out of kills, I think is the number one thing I at least notice in my games. That's the thing that drives me the craziest. That's the most obvious thing. Is like, 2 are dead. Why aren't we pushing this wall? And people are pinging siege camps. It's just like, it'll still be there in 35 seconds when they're alive again.
Right. Let's kind of continue this thought thread a little deeper. In Team League, when you're on Infernal Shrines, let's say you win a team fight and you've absolutely got everyone dead for 30 seconds. You start taking the objective. At 38 and 39 or so skeletons, you stop, because you know you have the poke to go in there at any time and complete that objective. You go take forts, keeps, camps, whatever you can. And then when they're finally all up alive, that's when you activate the Punisher, because he's a team fight ability. Activating him right then wasted your time. The Punisher walks the entire way, and you have the exact same scenario you had anyway. The team is up, and they're defending.
That is a awesome bit of advice. It is a Team League bit of advice, because it's hard to do that in a solo queue environment, but super awesome still to think of it that way.
It's really hard to get people to not take a camp and save it for timing. You're not going to be like, stop the objective. Everyone will be like, shut up.
Well, I was going to bring that up as an example, though, Kyle. Haunted Mines in the Tech Alpha. Everyone knew to not take that siege camp until the golem was marching on your fort. Everyone knew that. It was ingrained in their system that when the golem started to spawn, to go up, engage your siege camp, kill it, but do not stand on the pad.
That's the only time that's been accepted knowledge. Like, it hasn't happened since then.
And I think
maybe it was the... Sorry, go ahead.
My question is why? Why can't we...
I think maybe it was the positioning of the camp in relation to the golem. It was like more visually obvious that these guys were going to walk up there when the golem was going by. I don't know.
Exactly true, Jeff. He walked into the bush, so not only was he standing in possibly dangerous territory, you could kind of camp out there and protect your siege camp. That was helping with the golem. But they did walk directly past the wall. Nowadays, even if you engage the camp at the exact same time, the camp will often DPS it as it walks by, and then it'll let it go, moving on to push the lane.
Yeah.
So they kind of fix that, or remove that strategy out. You can still get a bit of damage in. If you time it perfectly, you can absolutely pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. That wasn't really the point I was making. The point I was making was this community-wide piece of knowledge that we all could execute on, and you were expected to execute on, and that doesn't seem to exist anymore. Why could that little piece of information permeate the entire player base of Heroes of the Storm, but the example you just gave on Infernal Shrines cannot?
I think it was our very small opening beta map pool.
I also think it's just more obvious. It makes more immediate sense. The idea of not just getting the objective on Infernal Shrines and doing it immediately because we can right now, I think it's a hard lesson to learn, because it's like, well, why wouldn't we? It makes sense when Kyle says it, but I don't think it's as immediately obvious as, hey, these two little siege guys can attack that thing that's getting at us, you know?
Well, and I do feel a little salesman-y about it too. You know, when I'm coaching, I'm like, what if I told you that you could win the entire game without ever picking a team fight? And, like, how fantastic is that? Team fighting is the most questionable way to win the game. You have no idea what abilities are going to come out. Maybe that cleanse hits perfectly. The divine shield comes through and the whole element changes. And that's why when they're dead, you take those keeps, because it means that constant forever pressure. Whereas those mercenary camps mean they don't have mercs to take. You're still going to have to win this game with a team fight.
Yeah.
I think part of it too is it's Blizzard's fault, man. They made team fights too much fun. You want a team fight. You want that rush. You get a surge of adrenaline. My hands tense up like I'm driving too fast over the speed limit, and I won't admit, but like you just want to do it.
Yeah, it's the thing you guys talk about all the time. It's fun pushing buttons. It's fun playing video game. It's fun getting kills. Those aren't necessarily the most efficient ways to win, but that you have to fight against that tendency with your team, because that's the hook. That's the fun part.
Yeah, and it's difficult. Something I talk about a lot on my streams is core comps, and it's a term that I have coined, that I've made up, but it's basically to say that don't do anything unless you can actually do it. If you are a tank and you make an engage and there is no DPS in range, the game is well designed. You will not get a kill unless you are 3 levels ahead. So make that engagement when someone is in range to react to you making that call. There are fabulous comps that win all the time on Battlefield of Eternity, where you are squishy. Your entire team is made of paper except for the one guy that might go and defend. It is insanely easy to win Battlefield of Eternity when you burn the Immortal in a second. But it means you never get to team fight. And having that self-control is tough. If I'm Stitches, I know I can last for days. If I implant myself inside the enemy team, I shouldn't be doing that. I should acknowledge that my damage is too low and I can't complete this kill without my allies.
Yeah. Anything else that Dyrus mentioned that either of you wanted to point out before we move on?
Well, we can toot our own, League of Legends over here as the Storm horn here by him saying that any MOBA is more balanced than League. But that's just for, to brush our shoulders off and feel awesome.
I believe he also later on said, jokes aside.
That is true.
Yes. No, he was complimenting Heroes, though. He said he thought Heroes is very balanced for how many maps there are, which I think is high praise.
I like the term that he used here when he said free losses. You understand pick order and knowing how to play as one of each role is really important to not get free losses. I feel like all I've been getting this week is free losses. We just hand the other team a win courtesy. You're welcome. Here's your free win, sir. I feel like that's my team is doing over and over.
Well, that was coming up in our off-air conversations earlier today, Kyle, where you were lamenting. You were saying that you think Platinum League players are better drafters.
I do. And it is not a jab at Diamond. I don't know how you fix the situation exactly, but Diamond players are a lot of one-trick ponies. And Masters players right now are really upset about the quality of the drafting they have. In particular, the phrase they've been yelling is no one can counter draft in Masters, and it's driving them nuts. It's because to get that high, in fact, into Diamond, just be amazingly mechanically good at a single hero and have about a roster of 3 covering your various roles. Have a support, have a tank, and then have that guy that you know how to kill exactly everybody in the game with in a 1v1, and that'll get you up there. So as I seesaw between Diamond 3 and Diamond 4, I'm continuing to interact with Platinums, and every time I do, it's a catch-22 because our draft our draft situations look a lot prettier, more World of Warcraft. You got your one tank, your one bruiser, your 2 DPS, and a healer. And that's really nice. When it gets into Diamond, you are in an argument constantly as you pick all 3 of your DPS first because everyone got there by grinding and climbing with a superior DPS, maybe a meta pick. So in a drafted game, if you lead with your 3 types of damage, you are setting yourself up to be countered horribly. You need to mix in a support early on. You need to mix in a tank because then they won't know quite what you're going to do. Are you going to add another tank, another support? Who knows? But once you reveal that you're going 3 types of spell damage, people start loading up on those Anubaraks. However, since the player base can't counter draft in the first place, it's not punished. But you get into the situation I had this week on Hanamura where I first pick Gavala. My next 2 picks are DPS. My last 2 guys are like, I can't tank. I can't tank. I'm support. And we're like, fine, cool. Can you tank? Okay. The guy doesn't talk. And at the very end, both these players reveal in the end that they have 0 warriors above level 5 and are unable to tank. We go into Hanamura tankless and get wrecked naturally.
Yikes.
What?
It's strange stuff.
Yeah. Frustrating.
But a certain amount of those are, just washes. You throw them in the bin just like you should say, mentally with your stomps. And that's the comforting part about my situation now is every time I get a little closer to plat, I immediately recover because the mechanics there are less superior. And I can win rather easily there because people stand still. They don't stutter step maybe as much as they should. They set up in a single area and you can zombie wall them easily or any sort of skill shot you have.
All good thoughts. And I will take the compliment on my drafting skills.
You are a good drafter, man. And, that is to say maybe that times you do pick a hero that you haven't practiced at the time, but often you and I are just playing on ranked, wanting to pick something passionate about.
Yep. The pre-show, I picked Muradin just because he's low level and I want to increase my level and get loot boxes.
Right, and you did a great job there. You had some awesome stuns. You got some body blocks off. The one interaction that we were missing was we had a butcher on our team, so all my heals over time, World of Warcraft style, were stacking on the butcher because they were so much of our DPS. I would never heal Muradin until his trait is over because it's a waste of my mana.
Yeah.
So Muradin's trait, Second Wind, restore health up to 40%. At 40%, this health decreases its amount it's healing. So once you reach that point, I will heal you. Until you reach that point, though, it'll be a complete waste.
And I had a feeling for that, and that's why you saw me doing the mount dance behind Butcher for a little bit to let my trait kick in.
Exactly.
It's all fine. It's all good. It worked out, and I took, apparently, according to Hot's logs, one of the worst warriors to great victory.
Yeah, well, we played in an organized environment, too, so don't trust Hot's logs when it comes to Muradin.
Well, hold on a second. It was organized, but we were not on comms. So we were taking a 5-stack against another 5-stack and not communicating.
But this was A move, people. Remember my speech at the top here.
Shh. Stop it. I feel good. I feel good, Kyle. I mean, I still feel good because I like that we have this hive mind.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Nice, but yeah, you did die, once or twice in the early game because of that interesting interaction. So it's a game of knowledge in the end.
Yeah, 100%.
That's for sure. It is a game of knowledge.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's frustrating when you see someone without it on your team.
I think
yes.
I think what leads to ultimate frustration, though, for higher tier players or any player actually in this game is when you feel like you have to play someone you're not passionate about, and now you're participating in the meta without actually having fun. And I want people to avoid that. I would rather have the most gung-ho Raynor on my team than Vala any day. Because I know just by the fact that he picked Raynor in the draft that he's probably damn good. Why else would he pick him?
You say that. You should see the last few Raynors I played with.
Well, it's a case-by-case basis.
I know. We're getting personal here. Hey, how about that Raptor mount reward for this season?
Yeah, speaking
Dudes.
of perhaps tilting things, here I am, Blizzard's putting out 2.0. All my shows, all my streams are highly based around teaching people, helping people learn this game. Well, you know what, Blizzard, I'm done. I'm back to grinding. You're welcome. This juicy, crazy. Holy crud. They put out Zul'jin without a raptor, and now they're going to hide it in the armored form behind Masters. I got to get to work.
It's so cool. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with Into the Nexus, listeners, and Jeff, if you somehow missed this, Kyle has been requesting a raptor mount for as long as I can think of it.
Well, obviously, and now that you see it, I know why. Come on, it's awesome.
Jeff, I'm curious. Did you play World of Warcraft?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I got me some raptor mounts.
What did you play?
Wow.
You played Horde then, I'm assuming?
No, God, no. I have the mechanical looking one. No, I actually have some Horde alts, but my mains are all Alliance.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I definitely had some Hordes with raptor mounts.
See, Kyle's a born troll. I mean it. Like, if you see him, the man is as tall as a troll in World of Warcraft. So,
what can I say? I can't handle it when my view perspective in a fantasy game is short. It's weird.
I can't handle it when I'm not even more beautiful than I already am, and that's why I play elves. Yeah.
Well, you're all about the hair, after all.
It pretty much, yeah. I say having worn a hat on every show this week because I direly need a haircut. But
this is a unique skeleton in programming terms, not really fancy programming terms, but this probably means there's a lot of dinosaur mounts to come. We have seen how many versions of the battle beast, of a horse. I would expect a feathered version or elemental version to be able to be purchased in the future.
Give me just a mini Tyrannosaurus. Like, make the.
I think that should be a hero. I think King Crush should be a hero all on his own. That'd be great.
That would be so rad. I would love that.
I want a dinosaur riding a dinosaur.
Well, I assumed he wasn't going to mount up, but now that you say it.
Okay, here, if you're making King Crush, he cannot use mounts except for the raptor. He can only ride other dinosaurs.
There you go.
Because he's the king. Oh, man, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, King Crush would be awesome. A Devil Sword from Warcraft would be an awesome hero.
Yeah.
I'm done with named heroes, man. I just want some more just random things I killed while leveling up. Bring me another Brightwing. That's what I want.
Well, if you are new to the Nexus, these mounts are rewards for ranking up. The armored version of this mount is hidden behind Master rank and above. But if you place in Team League, just place, complete those 10 games, you will get the base version of this mount. And one of the things we like to do around Into Nexus here is host a once a season Team League night, and that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to do our Bonanza next Thursday, which means it'll be an extended after show. So we'll do more games than usual. And we're going to do Team League next week. So we'll be taking patrons into Team League, but if you are not a patron, we highly, highly recommend you /join AMOVETV and get your own Team League teams together and go and finish those placements. Who knows? You might even get matched up against us, which means you'll win because we lose to our listeners all the time. So that'll be fun.
Is this a departure for them? Is this the first time that they've announced the rewards so late in the season?
Yeah, they said they had difficulty taming this beast.
Right. I think that's kind of cool though. Previous seasons it was right at the beginning of the season they said here earn the mount, but I feel like it's kind of neat to have it pop up quite at the end. It's like, okay, you only got 2 more weeks, go for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Diablo aspect of announcing it right at the beginning, like it's a new Diablo season. Like, here's all the cool crap you can get if you play, like, and it starts tomorrow. Go and have fun. Like, I like the hype leading into a new season. But yeah, this is. I mean, obviously the three of us here, we're very passionate about this game. We're going to be playing heroes anyway, but it is. I think this is neat. I think this is cool, kind of already being in it, and it's like, yeah, I've done my placements, and we'll do some Hero League, and who really cares? But oh my God, that mount's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's I'm very excited about it too. I'm excited for Kyle, but I want it for myself.
And it's not elemental. It's the first one that's not elemental, right?
Yeah, which I was kind of getting done with anyway. So that's very cool. And now that this is here, now that Kyle has received what he desires most, can we get a Nightsaber, please? I want a Nightsaber mount, not the only tiger in the game. All right, give me a Nightsaber. Thank you.
You got that gold one with the big old doubloons on it.
Yeah, the white shade of that one is pretty cool.
That's the only tiger in the game, and that's what I use, and that's the only thing Tyrande is allowed to ride on top of.
See, I have my Vala on that, and she looks rad.
I like the way you said that. Hey, before we take an email and wrap this up, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN, where you are all still signing up and still supporting us beyond our most recent goal of getting Dunk Train, and before that to have you, Jeff, on the show once a month, to where we will be able to actually pay you guys, which is awesome. But we've now significantly surpassed our goal, and that just means the world to us. So thank you so much, everyone who's come out and supported this podcast. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Mythdoll. And also thank you this week to Greg D, Ryan L, Tyler C, a.k.a. Hammerhand, Stephen G, and Bobby D. Thank you all so very much. And if you enjoy Into the Nexus, the best way to support us is at patreon.com/ITN. Now, we have an email before we get out of here, so let's get into it.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Went with the Sylvanas one because we've talked so much about her today. ITNcast@gmail.com is the email to send those emails to. I said emails twice in the same sentence and it confused me. Dirk writes in this week and says, last I wrote was in June 2015. Wow. Okay. So Dirk says, I have to admit, I've not played much Heroes in the last year or so, up until 3 weeks ago. Mother of God! Did 2.0 hit hard? Me and my Heroes buddies throw ourselves back at the Nexus, and much like the characters we play, we have yet to find our way out. With this return, the itch came. The itch to once again submerge into the game fully. So here I am, at work, designing web applications for dentists while listening to Into the Nexus, wishing I was at home playing the darn game. Question, are you guys able to identify an arc of what type of heroes you've played throughout the years? I myself am a Stitches and Uther guy, though I've got at least half the cast mastered. Curious if you're the same. I'm running out of exclamation points, so I'll end it here. Smiley face. See you in the Nexus and stay awesome. Dirk, P.S. Thanks once more for providing such excellent content. It's good to see some things never change. Aw, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Jeff, you're guesting this week. Can you identify an arc for yourself to the types of heroes you played?
The first hero that made me fall in love with the game was Muradin, because it was like, oh, I don't die immediately. I could actually enjoy this and learn a little bit. So yeah, he was the first character that really made me fall in love with the game. And then I got into Zeratul and Uther, way back. This is technical alpha. I loved Uther, Vala. Yeah, and then later, as I moved into the mages, I really fell in love with the mages. I still love the mages, KT and Li Ming and Jaina. I definitely played a lot of those three, and supports peppered through there. Muradin and Brightwing were really the first two that I fell in love with, and I still love Brightwing. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely branched out a lot more, but as I said earlier in the show, I've never found specialists particularly fun, so that's not really been part of my arc. Although, I master skinned Sergeant Hammer and Murky, I guess, the only two, but never really even loved those characters that much. I was always much more interested in the sort of 3 core World of Warcraft template types.
That's cool to hear. So basically, getting to participate for extended periods of time in a competitive game made you like the game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you jump into something that's like, oh, I got deleted, and I don't even really know what I did wrong. I'm just learning this game. I don't know. Finding a character, and this is what I've recommended to people on my shows, but who've been like, oh, I'm interested in trying it. Find a character that has some survivability, and then you can kind of figure it out. And really, the first skill that I always tell people to learn is don't die. Learn how not to die. And the characters that help you learn that a little bit might be fun. Characters that have some escape, like, I would always, in those early games, I would always save my leap with Muradin to get the hell out of dodge, which is nice to be able to go, okay, at a certain point I can just get out of here.
That's good. You were playing him then the way you should still play him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I change it up sometimes now. But yes, still good to get out of dodge when you need to.
I'm sad at the number of, now that we can see the full level on the screen loading up, I'm sad at the number of servants that people have drafted for themselves. Some guy in his level 900 account that's like, hey man, pick Morales, I'm gonna go Vala. Just follow me everywhere.
Yeah.
You're not gonna train him. You're not gonna impassion him to continue his time in Hero of the Storm doing that.
Nope.
Right, yeah. Do my bidding. Make me awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you?
Ooh, for me, it's an interesting climb through the balance. Diablo was my original love, just a big WWE kind of slamming, jamming guy. Nothing like in another MOBA I played. Positional strength of something I brought in from Dota, so I was coming on angles that people didn't even know existed and just, bam, blowing them away into those walls. Loved it. Then there came a time, and it was a rather extended period, maybe 2 months, where Diablo's push pushed them away from him. So he would connect, and then they'd move an extra couple feet, meaning you couldn't complete the grab after you did the push. So Diablo went completely away there, and I moved on to the other two weirdos that also kind of fascinate people who come from other MOBAs, Abathur, and then eventually Azmodan. I've got this 35-level Azmodan right now, and it is a complete lie. I don't play Azmodan at all anymore because they took away his ability to solo bosses. Used to be back in the day, a rain of demons on top of a boss would completely overwhelm them, and you could take that thing all by yourself. Nowadays, that is not the case, and Azmodan's playstyles moved into more of the, ooh, try to catch me, I've got a laser on you, playstyle that I'm not as big a fan of.
Yeah, that is definitely, watch me moonwalk with a laser on your face. Can you get me? Yeah, that's what he is now.
I've been all over the damn place. So you and I, so my first love was Tyrande. Shortly after Uther, but my first real love was Tyrande. And you and I, you fell in Diablo, I fell in Tyrande completely by happenstance. We did not start playing these heroes because they had a combo between the two of them that was earth-shattering at the time. And still very good, by the way. You overpower, I land the Lunar Flare, and our team just destroys them because they now have a Hunter's Mark on them.
It's also important to note that when Abathur first released, when you made a clone, that was his only heroic. He only had one heroic. But when you clone somebody, you got their heroic. So I remember running around with Willie Dills as Nova, double triple tap, and laughing all our way to the bank.
It was, I do remember that.
That's a sextuple tap.
It was
awesome.
Disgusting. You guys look like I don't know, like British soldiers, like standing in a line, like very kind of like with your etiquette, firing your rifles off. It was ridiculous. But so it was Tyrande and Uther. Then Arthas was always in there. He was like the big draw for me in Heroes was I get to play the Lich King. Sign me up. And so I was always on and off with Arthas. Into Zagara, who became just kind of my favorite hero, I think, ever. If I just think of every hero in the games, I always come back to the Zagara. When Johanna was released, that was when I first started tanking for the first time. Played a ton of Johanna in her original stretch. That's when you were a Leoric nut job, Kyle.
Well, both of them released very powerful, and the combo of the two, I think, was the first time the meta ever really met double warrior, and it was oppressive.
Yep. Yeah, but I don't have an arc that makes any sense. I've been all over the place. Started with Tyrande, moved in Zagara, started tanking on Johanna, and then I went under Kyle's wing and started learning how to actually murder people in Climb Hero League. So, anyways, I'm glad to hear that you are back, Dirk. Welcome back. Enjoy your stay. And hopefully we'll see you on the ladder. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Again, you can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Thanks again to our patrons at patreon.com/itn. Check out more of this show at amove.tv or youtube.com/amovetv. Catch us live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/ you guessed it, amovetv. We are on Twitter at itncast. And thank you to Gorath, who did our intro music, and BrianGriffithMusic.com, who did our outro. Jeff, you're our guest, so where can folks find you when you're not guesting on ITN?
I'm on Twitter at Jeff Kanata, which is spelled with 2 N's and 1 T. And I have 2 other video game shows. I have a weekly video game show called DLC, which you can find at 5by5.tv/DLC. And I also have a daily show. It's 10 minutes a day, keeps you up to date with everything that's happening in real time. It's at anchor.fm/NLB for newest, latest, best.
Fantastic. And also DLC, now both Kyle and I have been on that show. So everyone should go listen to that. Not just because we got it, but
it was an absolute delight. I mean, here we almost get a little serious with Jeff. If you're not familiar with Jeff's other shows, you need to be, because there is no better way to start your week than DLC. It's so high energy and so fun that you can't help but enter your Monday being like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be all right.
Aw, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. Kyle, how about yourself?
This week, I'd like to pimp my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson, 2 S's in Ferguson. I've got you covered. If you're curious about the Tyrande rework, the Alarak rework, in particular, I'm a little proud of my Alarak rework because I already had those mechanics ready to go. So just an awesome time putting together those games, of course. And solo Q&A gets posted there once a week, and it is fully back. The Learn to Play show will go on hiatus because it's time to get a darn Raptor. So if you want to watch some Hero League play with some analysis thrown in, a great way to see these thoughts in motion. It's nice to think about, to say aloud what you can do on a map, how the interactions go. But in the moment, inside the game, there is no substitute. Check that out to sort of help digest our conversations today.
Folks, you can find me around the web. I'm on Twitter at GarrettArt. Every podcast I do, including this fine show with Kyle and occasionally Jeff, is at amove.tv, so go check that out. Other than that, I have a graphic design portfolio, which I still do to pay the bills, mostly for fun stuff that I didn't need to buy in the first place, but I still do graphic design for that reason. Check it out, nomoonart.com. If you need a graphic designer, go and check that out. That will wrap it up for this week's Into the Nexus. We will be back next week, but until then, good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.
Stay positive, don't die.
Yes.
Yeah. Well done.